So at Gray Area, we apply art and technology for positive social impact. And we've worked hand in hand with government and corporations over the past several years. And we really tried to turn civic frustrations into creative action. And so I wanted to take you through very quickly an exercise that we go through on a day-to-day basis when we think about sort of our commute to work and our experience within the urban environment. So I want you all to think about your commute to work. Just how many people commute to work? Who commutes to work? Bus, train, and so on. And on your commute, how often do you think, I wish there were more bike lanes? Okay, exactly. I personally been hit by a car on my bike. If there had been a bike lane there, I most likely would not have been hit. How about I wish the sidewalk conditions were better? This was a photo I snapped in Mexico City after my foot had fallen in a pothole and I twisted my ankle. I've also experienced this. The conditions aren't so bad in San Francisco, but what about this? I wish there was somewhere to sit. This is a response to the homeless issue. In China, the government actually installed spikes underneath the freeway to not allow people to sleep under the freeway. And are these the types of interventions you would create as a creative person? Is this the type of action you would hope your government would inspire into to artists and to create these interventions? How about I wish there was somewhere to use the restroom? This is a mushroom during the Beta Breakers run across San Francisco. And so if there had been a public restroom to use, potentially this guy wouldn't have been sprayed by his neighbor and he wouldn't be urinating on the street. So I ask you today, what would happen if you transformed your civic frustration into creative action? And this is the underpinning question of many of the programs at Gray Area over the past several years. We've become known for activating the art and technology community around these types of frustrations. We get people through urban prototyping, through creative currency, to respond to the frustrations they experience as citizens living in the urban environment. Some of the projects that have been created, I think Peter discussed quite a bit, but our community has responded to transportation issues, of providing digital applications as a gift to San Francisco. People have donated tens of thousands of hours to work hand in hand with local groups and government to address our civic frustrations. This was an example of a public-private partnership to create an application called LinkSF, which was developed in partnership with Zendesk, the Tenderloin Technology Lab, and Gray Area. And this application provides access to social services for those in need. Now, this was piloted in the Tenderloin, and it's going to be piloted over the next year. And this is a civic application which is more of a technical solution, not so much of a creative solution to a problem. And we also work within more of a creative awareness sort of visualization field. This was a project called Tender Noise, which a team of artists and designers installed 13 decibel readers around the Tenderloin to detect noise pollution data. And so, can you see it? So low. So this was actually sparked a conversation between the public health department, which we didn't actually know was going to happen, but this was a 24-hour reading. We started to talk about what the health implications were around hearing sirens every few minutes within the Tenderloin. It is actually one of the noisiest districts in all of the US. And what would happen if this data was being detected real time, all the time, 24/7? And this is what we're about to tackle with our next project. We're going to work with a technology company to instrument Market Street all the way up and down to install a sensor network where we'll be detecting environmental data from noise pollution to CO2 data and making the invisible visible. So we really want to bring civic applications and the open data discussion to the street and reach a wider audience. And we're going to find people on the streets where they are instead of people trying to find our applications. This is an unused newsstand kiosk on Market Street. There are around 70 located in San Francisco, and only about 5 are currently active with print newspaper sales. And so in the new media spirit, we're working to fill this site with data. So we're calling this project the Data Canvas, and it will draw people's attention and inspire them to take an interest in data and civic applications. So by interacting with this piece, people will be able to see how the decisions we make affect our health and safety on a local and global scale. So this is the scale that we're thinking about. It's actually going to be around 5th and Market in front of Westfield. I don't know if anybody's seen that Living Innovation Zone, which was created by the Exploratorium at Yerba Buena Lane. This is the scale we're talking about. We're talking about almost a half a block on Market Street. This will be seen by 20,000 pedestrians a day and 7 million people a year. And this is an example of a data art concept that might be presented onto that screen. And this is using modeled sensor data. So imagine if every intersection along Market Street was represented as a flower. Based on the level of carbon emissions, the flower is either flourishing or wilting away. This type of data art is very, very easy to understand and raise awareness and can inspire behavior change amongst our citizens. So we have a lot of other concepts that we're considering, and we've hired a team of artists to work with environmental scientists to make the data relatable to everyone. And this project was actually inspired by some of our frustrations of bringing lights and activity to Market Street. Gray area, this is an old footage of Market Street in its heyday in the 1940s, when it was called the Great White Way, and it was activated with lights and theaters. And so Gray Area was thinking about reactivating some of these facades and creating a digital arts district. And so this has been an inspiration of ours, is to how do we reactivate Market Street? We've spent a lot of time and invested a lot of money and resources into helping the city revitalize this area. So from 2007, we moved into the Tenderloin. This is one of the first articles that was written about us taking over an old porn theater in the Tenderloin and revitalizing it with the gallery. This is another headline. Maybe you've seen this headline on a recurring basis. It often comes up over several years. But this is my face, basically the city putting us up as their poster child, saying, hey, a mid-market arts district is going to come back because Gray Area signed a lease. But it was only one of us at that point. And so we couldn't really create an arts district on our own, but I do think that we sparked a lot of the change that happened over the course of the next few years, with Twitter signing the lease and the tax break happening. So we were in the Warfield for about 3 years on the corner. This is an event we did with the San Francisco Arts Commission and Burning Man, as they were our neighbors across the street. We had a lovely time in an old theater in an old building. At one point, we were actually running a hackathon on 8 different floors at once, and having all these people sort of rethink Market Street. Unfortunately, we were evicted as the development started to close in on us, and it's sad to say, to see how these things have come to fruition over the course of the period of time in mid-market, but I'm happy to announce that we actually did sign a lease on a new theater. So in the same way that we're taking over the newsstand kiosk for new media, we are taking over and reactivating and reviving an old cinema with new media and art and technology. And so this is happening in the Mission District. Maybe many of you have driven by this old marquee. For the last decade, it's been a dollar store. And this is an old video of what it used to be. Let's see if it works. So it used to, from 1940 until about 1990, it showed, let's see, what are they showing here? I don't know. I don't recognize those films, unfortunately. But I've talked to friends who've told me they saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre there, and more popular titles. And it used to seat 870 people. It's a large space. It's 10,000 square feet. And we're going to be converting this into an incubator program for art and technology. So a lot of the projects that I described will now have a home and a home base to be created and developed and scaled. So we'll have a cultural incubator for art and technology. We will have a community space in the lobby, and we'll have a theater for immersive and digital art. We teach code to create artwork. This program will continue to scale in our new home. Over the past 6 or 7 years, we've actually taught over 500 people how to use code to create artwork. We teach generative art, interactive media, and data visualization. And some of our faculty are leading artists in their field, and they're coming from tech companies all around Silicon Valley and around the world. And so to close, I want to say that organizations that work within gray area between communities are extremely, extremely important in cities, because we need to create ways to engage each other and create interventions and actions, and this is what we do at Gray Area. So thank you so much.